All right, everybody. We out here on another episode of the Legends Find a Way podcast. Today, special guests Austen and Chanel.
Chanel's in the house.
Chanel's in the house. She's killing it. Stoic AF. Just radiating wisdom. And we're about to get into it. For those of you who don't know, Austen is an online fitness coach. He has done powerlifting. You have done many other things too. Name some of them for me.
Done men's physique. Powerlifting was my most recent thing, and really just a hybrid of the two as well. So
Right.
power building.
Power building.
Exactly.
Power building.
Yeah.
And so within fitness coaching, power building, and obviously many other things, business in the 21st century. I mean, obviously an online influencer, 130,000 followers on Instagram, which is like really just an amazing testament to your commitment over time to, GravFit and your company.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely want to talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just ready to get into it if you are.
Dude, let's dive in.
Let's
dive in.
Let's dive in. So,
Chanel, you ready?
Chanel, are you ready? Give us a bark to let us know. All right, we'll take that as a yes. She jumped off. So, all right. So, Austen, obviously you've been involved in fitness for a long time.
Yeah.
Walk me through how you originally got started and what sort of put you and triggered this whole fitness lifestyle for you that kicked in now has become sort of your way of living, your way of being.
Yeah, dude, that's an amazing question. Like, honestly, it all stemmed back from 2009, actually, where when I first started, I was kind of going to the gym like most people are, not really committed. I was going there, here and there, but it wasn't a consistent schedule whatsoever. And it was to a place where I was in high school at the time, and most high school kids, they want to look good, they want to feel more confident, all those things. But it wasn't until I really looked at it, or when I went off to college, and I reached that next chapter in my life, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, damn, I not only look bad, but I feel like total shit. And to, elaborate more on what I mean by that is I felt super insecure. I felt like I didn't have confidence, had low self-worth, just wasn't the best version I could possibly be. And it was not just the physical part, but it was like internally how I felt about myself. There was this like feeling that I knew I just wasn't worthy. So there was a lot of like deep things that kind of like was tied into that. But fitness at the time, when I came into CrossFit Fitness in college, that's when I started to actually like be like, you know what, man, like I'm 18 years old now. Like this is time where it's only going to get harder as life goes on. And I'm at a point in my life right now where my life is just like, it's at its very beginning, and it's still early.
Right.
And I was like, why not do something now? Like when I have very little responsibility, like this is a time to really focus on me and become the best version of myself, and who knows what that will lead to. So it was, I started surrounding myself with the right people in college that, were at the gym, that were like in really good shape. They had worked on themselves, and fitness was a big part of their life. So that's really where the catalyst was. I looked at myself in the mirror, which wasn't super happy, but kind of to go a little bit deeper, like was in bad relationships, and I think that kind of had some, in one regard, that kind of had some effect to me wanting to do something about myself as well. So it wasn't just like, the physical part of it, but it was also like previous relationships, like, why did I end up with that person? Or what was it? What was the reason, being? So it was a multitude of things. And, I just was I didn't expand upon this too, was super unhealthy, like, big drinker, actually at one point smoked. So fitness was kind of like
Weed or tobacco?
Both.
Okay.
Both. But
So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
And this was in college or before?
This was actually in high school.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
college is where I like actually like I told you, transitioning to going to college,
Right.
cut, not the drinking part of it, but I cut back on the drinking part of it. Not so much throughout college, and we'll get on to another point later on. There was another chapter, obviously.
Of course.
But after high school, after college, then I kind of hit another point in time where I was like, I need to, shape myself again.
Right.
So
there's a lot in there. And
yeah.
I think that a couple of things really stood out to me. One of them being that you had sort of this transition that sounds like you made from high school to college, in which you started to move away from some of that stuff, and naturally in that process elevated yourself, elevated your vibration and frequency to a place where you got into the gym and you met other people who were ahead of you in that regard. And you started to sort of, I'm assuming you started learning from them.
Aligning, yeah, exactly. Like it was just taking, their wisdom that they had years previously that I didn't apply myself toward. And I just, learned from them.
Gotcha. So what were some of the original things you learned from them that helped you make your initial push, and was that catalyst so you started to see the results? Because we both know that when it comes to fitness, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, where are these results? And then it's like, holy crap, these are the results. All you got to do is this, and this. So like, what was the shift? What were the things you learned that you implemented that gave you the results that you were looking for?
Yeah, dude, great question. First one is commitment. Obviously, anything in life, if you want something, you got to be committed. I mean, there's no, magic pill. There's no like sugarcoat bullshit answer. It's anything, you got to be committed. You have to have a level of commitment that, is there, obviously. And if you're not willing to be committed, then do something else, then you truly don't want, that result. I mean, there's no really, I know it's kind of a black and white answer, but commitment is the first thing. So like I had previously told you, my commitment level wasn't there in high school.
Right.
It wasn't there. And I think I just wasn't ready, was the thing. I wasn't ready, and I hadn't hit enough of a form of adversity to really realize what needed to be done in order to evolve into a higher version of myself.
Right.
Yeah.
After commitment, what was the next thing we're not going to call them pillars because that's we'll just call it the next like piece of value that you sort of took into your own way of being through that process of working with them? Or did you work out with them? Did you just talking to them at the gym, or like, because there's so many people out there that are like noobs in the gym.
Yeah.
I want to know like, how do I do this? And so your story is literally their story in a lot of ways.
So commitment definitely, and also curiosity, where you have to let your ego down and understand that you don't know everything, and those people didn't know everything at one point either. But what got them to where they are today is because they were curious and they were willing to learn. They were willing to accept new ideas that necessarily they didn't know at the time, and they were open-minded. So always lead, or always have that level of curiosity, and know that you're not the one that knows everything. Because once you do, you shut yourself out from all possibility that could happen, all the things that could potentially arise that you want.
Right. And I think that's such a good point, because I think it's our society today that we look up to people and we just assume that if we find a role model, they know everything. So we just want to align ourselves with that person. And if that person isn't open-minded and curious themselves, then we naturally aren't going to be open-minded and curious ourselves.
Definitely.
And so we lose out on so many opportunities to ask questions that lead to answers, which lead to more questions, lead to more answers, more questions, which lead to a new state of being.
Yeah.
Right? Because you eventually come to the terms of like, oh my gosh, this thing that I thought was this really isn't. And now I'm taking myself to a new place where I've expanded my mind. And Einstein says, once you've expanded your mind, it can never go back to its original dimensions.
Definitely. And I think, like you said, with society, I think people almost, I don't know if it's for whatever reason now, in this present time, but I feel like people almost feel like shame to ask questions. And they feel like and that could stem back to something early on, but they feel like they're going to be, scolded if they ask something, or they're going to be looked at a different way. They're going to feel like they're, unworthy of asking a certain question that leads to a result.
Right.
In this case, I was curious. I asked questions. I asked stuff I didn't know to an expert. And I even see this time and time with other people. Like, they say, hey, quick question, like, because generally you start a question that way, it's like, you don't want to be, a nuisance, you don't want to be judged, but it's okay to ask questions. You got to understand that like not everyone knows everything. And that is one of the big, I think that is actually one of the leading things is commitment and curiosity. And there is one more I will say too, but yeah, I'd say lead with always knowing that you don't know everything. Like,
so as far as curiosity is concerned in the situation of you making that transition, because I think this is a really empowering moment for you where you moved from, we'll call it like the hotshot hero high school guy who's like got a chip on his shoulder, he wants to be more, but doesn't necessarily know how to, I'm going to start becoming an apprentice of life and start to learn more and embrace that level of vulnerability that a man has. A real man is vulnerable in that way, so we can learn. Otherwise, you're so hard-headed and rigid that you aren't able to like put down your walls enough to ask someone who knows more than you a question, which is cool, right?
Yeah.
So what were some of the initial questions you were asking these people when you first got into fitness?
Yeah, I remember actually, I'm thinking back to one of my friends now who actually is, he lives in Philly now, but at the time he lived in Pittsburgh, and we met, at Altoona because I first went to Penn State, Altoona. And I remember asking him some dumb question. I say dumb question. Here we go. But I was like, he was in really good shape. Like, dude, how much, like, what protein do you take?
Right.
Like, and that's just like, yeah. But like, it's stuff like that where he was the one to tell me, hey, man, it doesn't really matter. Like, what matters is you getting your ass in here and showing up and leading back to what we just said, being committed.
Right.
Go figure.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I remember those questions often. For anyone who doesn't know, I haven't taken any. Oh, that's not true. No, that's not true. I recently bought some plant protein to mix into my cashew milk yogurt.
Nice.
But other than that, I haven't had any supplements in like the last 2 years since I stopped bodybuilding. But anyway, moving on. So you started working out in the gym. You started to seeing results.
Yeah, started seeing results very quickly. Like, I just remember my bench press, just to be specific, like bench press shot up, like just overall, like I was at the time of, what was it, bodybuilding.com.
Yeah.
I was like all into that, into the bodybuilding phase, and like really loved like just how you could work on a specific area of your body and, grow and essentially develop it into, something that make you feel good, not just, from the outside, but inside. So.
Right, and start to unleash some of that creative energy, right?
Yeah.
Like before it was like dormant and you were kind of like being annoyed with yourself, but you weren't able to break free. Now you transmuted it into something that has results that you can be proud of, right?
Exactly.
So after you started to see these results, how did that move into like you with bodybuilding, you with powerlifting, you with starting your business? Like what was the timeline for that stuff?
So this is the interesting part, like I mentioned earlier.
For context, how old are you?
I'm 28.
28, okay. Yeah.
This was in 2009 to 10. That went to about 2013.
Okay, cool.
End of 2013. This is another transitional part that I would say that was deep. Right. Is those 4 years, that gap, or that time from 4 years, from 9 to 13, 2009 to 13. I had that transitional shift of physically I looked really good. But being someone who, I don't know if I've ever shared this, is someone who suffers, not necessarily OCD, because we all do to some degree, but someone who is like, I would say, recovering perfectionist.
Gotcha, yeah.
Recovering perfectionist, and someone who is like, has to be like super type A, or is super type A, and, things have to be perfect in order to feel good. I started to, in 2013, get really lean. I got really lean. It was almost not a form of anorexia or bulimic, but I don't know if you've heard of this. It's called orthorexia. So I developed what's called orthorexia. I did before my first bodybuilding competition, I became like what's called, it's where you eat too clean, too much.
Right.
So you get obsessive with clean eating. Yeah. Didn't have a cheat meal for weeks, dude. We're talking 4 or 6 weeks sometimes. And it would be like a small little hamburger or something like that. So it's because what happened, to get to the core of it, was I never felt enough. I never felt like, because of this transitional shift, I think which was driven by, insecurity and validation and not feeling enough, it evolved into something where I was at this level where, hey, now I'm like the most ripped guy below 5% body fat, but how can I be the more ripped guy that can feel accepted and feel validated, and everyone can be like, hey, look at him, you know. So it turned into something, you know, it stemmed to something good. I got in shape, but it also turned into something bad, getting to a level that was so lean that it became sickening. So in 2013, I got to a place where I'm like, hey, I need to keep going. I need to get so lean. And at one point, I got to 3.5% body fat. I got weighed in, I was 3.5%.
What are you at right now, just for reference?
Right now, I'm going to guess I'm around like 9 or 10.
Go to his profile and look at it because he's still ripped. So you can only imagine what 5.5% is like.
Yeah.
Holy, oh my
so
God.
3.5 is,
What?
I will never, ever tell anyone, unless you're, you know, under doctor supervision or you're competing, don't ever go below 5% body fat.
Wow.
So even at 5% to maintain that was difficult, but 3.5, I had veins coming up my, you know, my lats. I mean, entirely from my abs to my lats. I had veins I'd never seen before going on my legs. Like, it was crazy. Like, and I didn't think it was realistic, but, you know, I got so obsessed with the feeling of like looking so, I guess, different from the norm and whatever you classify as the norm. But in my sense, from that point of view at that time, you know, I saw the norm as like, you know, someone who's in like the 15-20% body fat range, you know. So I saw things like from an extremist perspective.
Right.
I took things the absolute extreme, and that not only translated to my fitness, but that sadly translated over to every facet of my life. And that's where I was like, dude, I gotta make a fucking change.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was like, this is gonna go downhill. This is gonna become like this is almost like psychosis. Like I was like, this is like starting to be so extreme that I'm like, you know, barely holding a job. Like I'm obsessing over, like I'm alienating all my friends, my relationships. Like they're fucking suffering. You know, I can't have a relationship. Like I'm getting in arguments with my parents. Like it was just like all over looking a certain way and trying to feel enough. That's where I was like, man, we got to change.
So first of all, wow to all of that, because that's incredible. And I admire your courage to speak on that, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
So in that process, though, it sounds like your body sort of became your identity.
Yes.
Austin was no more. There was just your body.
Yeah.
And that became Austin.
Yeah.
Right? Is that accurate?
Definitely. That's a good way to put it. Is absolutely.
So now the question then is, how did you move from that place to where you're at now? Because obviously it's been a major shift. Yeah, man. It was a chain of events. It wasn't just one. I will say one thing that had a great impact. I'll get to that in a second. But I got to a point where I will say that Kelly had a large influence of once I found her, you know, and I competed in the competition, and I realized like I did this competition, and then ended up I worked my ass off so hard for this bodybuilding competition, dude. When I was like 3% body, 3.5% body fat, and I got so lean. And no disrespect to bodybuilding or men's physique, but I was like, this is the most subjective bullshit thing I've ever done in my life. Where I got last place. I kept a smile on my face the entire time. I had my stage presence. Really, the only thing I didn't have down was I didn't practice posing enough, and I didn't know the judges. So subjectively, you know, I wasn't in their favor. Right. We're not going to blame it on them, but I worked so hard for this, and I was like, you know what? This isn't worth it. I don't need some, and this is where it all stemmed from. I don't need some outside source, some dude that's sitting in a chair that hasn't put in the work, or maybe he has, either way, that is not on the stage to validate that I'm enough or I'm not enough. I know what I am, and so be it. I don't need anyone else's approval. Right. So from there, you know, I lost and I was like, fuck it, I'll try one more. I tried one more, did a little bit better, but I was like, honestly, this sport is tough. I'm not a quitter, but this isn't for me. It's just not who I want to be. And it's for some people, and that's great. If you're into bodybuilding, so much respect. But it isn't for me. You know, it controlled my whole life, and I found that I could do other things, and there was more than just being a certain level of body fat in life.
there was more in life than looking a certain way.
Right.
And fortunately at the time, I discovered Kelly and her influence kind of.
Who is your girlfriend? Correct?
Yeah, who is my girlfriend, or actually fiance.
Oh, what you said.
Yeah.
Right.
Who, you know, for now, like now we, you know, we obviously you're surrounded by somebody you're gonna, you know, act like that person. She was a good influence, and I actually pivoted out at that point, and around 2014-ish, actually May 1st, 2014, May 1st, 2014. What happened was I ended up saying, and she had started real estate, and said, you know what, I think it's time I do something. Like I changed. Why not help other people? Like people were hitting me up like, hey, you look great. Can you help me? Like on Instagram, I come up with an Instagram. I think I started in around 2013. I started posting pictures, selfies, and you know all that stuff. And
you were on early.
I was on early, man.
Wow.
I was on in 2013, and it started to blow up in 2014. But that's so like 6 years in the making. That's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to share my journey. I was sharing it through the whole bodybuilding process, but I decided, you know, why not document everything
right
on Instagram and document everything when I finished. So that's what I did. And yeah, man, it was like, I was like, why not start a business? Like I was telling you, why not start the business? And from there, I mean, the business has just shifted as we've went. It's evolved as we went, but it all was through this transitional like hardships. And it's crazy because I think sometimes people, what they don't realize is, you know, your greatest hardships or your worst moments are often disguised as your greatest life lessons.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of adversity. It's the opportunity for you to overcome yourself and grow through that adversity.
Exactly.
And so there's one thing I wanted to come back to before we get into this next chapter, which sounds like it's moving into your business and whatnot. But going back to the competing in bodybuilding, it's basically like taking Da Vinci, Picasso, and Monet and Van Gogh and putting them next to each other and asking which one's the best.
Dude, that is probably the best analogy I've ever heard in my life about bodybuilding.
Right.
It's so subjective.
And it's literally this simple. It's like you are biased to what you like.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Which could be just a reflection of you or your unconscious XYZ.
Absolutely.
But like it's an artistic competition. There shouldn't even be places, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's what distorts it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I'm no good. It's like, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, could you be better?
Yeah, I know.
Could you put 5% body fat be better? Like, that's your version of art.
Absolutely.
Right? So to compare them is why I stepped away. Because I was like, this literally makes no sense at all.
Because you did Man Physique.
I did 3 shows.
That's right.
And I thought I did great.
Yeah.
Right? My posing wasn't the greatest thing on earth, but I had my own unique poses. And that was what really took me over the edge was my last show. She wasn't, like, they told me I could only do a front and a back and a side. I was like, I'm not allowed to be artistic and do my full expression. She's like, do you want to do that? Go dance. I was like,
what?
Okay. Yeah, I had words with this IFBB pro women's physique competitor backstage before I went on for my last show. Wow. They were explicit, I'll be honest. I hadn't had sugar in 12 weeks, so I was fired up.
Yes, so you can remember.
Oh yeah, I was. So anyway, moral of the story. When you're comparing, it's like going to a museum and looking at all this beautiful artwork, and it's like they're all majestic in their own way.
Yeah.
And it's if I like Van Gogh more than I like Da Vinci, naturally I'm gonna choose Van Gogh.
Definitely.
And here's the thing: I like Van Gogh. His painting is crazy. It's super vivid and vibrant.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you're floating.
Yeah.
Right? I like Da Vinci, but like what's it called? The Last Supper is really great. Mona Lisa's okay, but like you know what I mean? It's like I really like Austen, but I love Graham. It's like, what does that mean, right?
Yeah. What does that mean exactly?
Eventually, it becomes, like you said, popularity contest, and it becomes something that's so subjective that it makes you feel really insecure and unconfident in yourself after you just did one of the hardest things you could do. You made yourself a living sculpture.
Yeah. A living sculpture.
That's just freaking nuts, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so moral of the story from 2 guys who have competed. Understand what you're getting yourself into. And don't manage your expectations based on the fact and truth, which is that the people are completely biased to whatever they choose that they like. That's simple.
Definitely, man.
Agreed?
100% agreed.
Yeah.
100%. 2x bodybuilders.
Right? But with all that said, in
Yeah.
the process of that, you learn so much about yourself and learn something that you don't want to do to that extreme.
Absolutely.
And also, I think this is important. Having gone to that extreme, it's like a seesaw. You tip the scales.
Yeah.
So naturally, when you're like, okay, I'm done with this, and you lighten up the weight, you balance at a new homeostasis, which led you to starting your company. So tell us about that.
Yeah, man. So and that was the other thing is like, at first, you know, as with any business, you're really excited when you first start off, and I came across more, you know, hard times during the process.
Of course.
So started off, you know, not adopting the concept of what I did with fitness at first, but I thought I knew everything and didn't really have as much curiosity in the beginning. And that kind of held me back. You know, I inserted my ego in knowing that I thought I knew everything, and that's why I didn't grow to the level I wanted to at the time. And I'd say around like 2016 is when I first was like, you know what, enough's enough, man. I gotta hire a coach. And I came across one guy that really, we talked about him before, that's really like opened my eyes to a lot of just an awareness, essentially. Like, because like this is what kind of made me realize everything that we've talked for the last, I'd say we've been talking for almost 40 minutes now.
Really? Wow. Time flies.
Is it 40 minutes?
I have no idea.
Well, I'm going to say probably about, who knows? It doesn't matter. But anyway, at least we've been talking around that time frame. Oh, you better stop.
Serious.
I came across the power of now. Eckhart Tolle. And a lot of his concept really resonated with me, and that kind of made me realize like what was really going on. And also coming across a seminar that I went to, who was my coach in 2016. You may know him, AJ Mirzad.
I think I have heard of him.
So AJ Mirzad, hired him as a coach in 2016. But I saw another guy, Jesse Elder, work with him for a little bit too. And really just to break down the idea of the seminar was, it was just getting super clear and aware on, it was kind of, you know, I hate to use like Tony Robbins as an example, but it was kind of like a Tony Robbins, but a little bit obviously not as immersive.
Right. And
it just made us aware of past limiting false beliefs that were holding us back.
Yep. And
really making us conscious of the unconscious, essentially. And that was kind of the tipping point of like, dude, like let the ego down and go back to like one of your like beliefs before, being curious, you know what I mean? And being, you know, willing to commit and being curious. So that was kind of the pivoting point, and that's where business really started to grow. Now, did it have hardships after that? Absolutely it did, and it still will, no matter what. Every business has a level of growth. But going more out of the business side of it, you know, I was able to, by hiring that coach, I was able to impact more people, you know, at a deeper level.
Right.
Was the other thing. So,
at a deeper level, especially,
level.
Right? Which is so important, especially in coaching, because for my understanding, the main purpose of a coach is to help guide other people into a new level of awareness.
Yeah, definitely.
Regardless of what it is, because if it's, you know, you're coaching football, you're guiding them to a new level of awareness of why it's so important that you block this guy the way you're blocking him.
Exactly.
If it's the gym, it's why you're eating these foods for this reason, right? If it's coaching for another coach or for a client, whatever the thing is that they're learning, it's to bring them into a new level of awareness so that they can better understand what it is they're doing and why.
Exactly. I mean, that's essentially what AJ did and what I do, with my clients. And that was where it all stemmed. I think that was where it really started to.
That was the turning point.
Yeah.
Right. When you sort of dig a little deeper into your mind and start to, you know, we'll just call it, like, very simply, from what I understand, it's this barrier between your unconscious mind and your ego. And it's what it sounds like what happened to you is that the wall that separated them, think of it like Mulan. There's the Mongol horde coming in. It's like, let the Great Wall of China dissolve a little bit and realize that the horde isn't actually bad. It just is. And it's an opportunity for you to learn about yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Come down from your high horse and just be.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is, man. Just be. And that's where, everything just I'd say there's been multiple catalysts along the journey. Obviously, it's a multiple chain of events. It's not just one, common denominator. It's been multiple things.
So, but first, just so we're aware, it was Eckhart Tolle, then it was the seminar, or was it the reverse?
No, that's a great question. It was the reverse. So it was a seminar, and then coming across Eckhart Tolle to help instill those beliefs and become a little bit deeper. That book is amazing.
So for you, and we're going to get to that book, but
Yeah.
for you, when you hired a coach, how did it impact you? What were like the three things you were like really like, now that you have time to look back in the mirror and you have perspective now, what were the three things that like really helped you that if you hadn't done that would have kept you exactly where you were?
That's a good question. So if I didn't have hired the coach, can you rephrase that one more time?
Yeah, that wasn't the best way to answer the question. So what were the three things you learned from him that if you hadn't learned from him, it would have continued to keep your business exactly where you were?
Gotcha. That's a really good question. That's going to have me thinking for a second. So I'd say the first one is going to be, and this is kind of be a vague answer to that is you got to obviously take action. You got to take action that is in a way congruent with your goals and be willing to coming back to the curiosity part of it, be willing to, let me rephrase that.
This is exactly, and I need to stop for this is so important. This is why conversations are so important.
We
each express language and we push each other to communicate at a higher level. It cultivates the diamond, the gem you're about to drop.
This is a chronological order. The first one is kind of going back to dropping the ego is fucking listen. Be willing to listen. And obviously what a coach has is something, the reason you're invested in that coach is something that you want. They have a result that you want. They have an outcome that you want. Whether it be physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is, they have something that you want, and that's why you're invested in that person to become better and evolve into what they have, particularly. So, obviously, in order to be that person, in order to evolve into, not that person, but in order to evolve into a higher level of you that shares a similarity to them, is you have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to listen and be open-minded. And that was the one thing that not only with the coach, but also with the client.
Oh, yes.
You gotta be willing to listen to the client.
Yes.
So that was the first thing. And going back to, I know it's not the right thing you want to hear, but the action part of it was being someone who was a procrastinator. I had to act in the right way. Right. And let me dig a little bit deeper on that, because action is a very vague thing.
Right.
I want people to.
And I also think, just to cut you off, because I do that sometimes.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that people just misunderstand what action is, and you're about to describe that change that you had, where you sort of realize a little more about what action really is versus what I think it is.
Yeah, it's essentially like acting on something that's congruent with your goals. But like what I mean by congruent is being like prioritizing essentially what is the thing that's going to get you the result. And there's so much distractions. We live in an age where we live in the information age, we live in the digital age where there is an abundance of communication distractions. Our phones, you can Google how to get apps and be hit with 6.5 million answers in 2.23 seconds.
Plus ads.
And it's no wonder why we're overwhelmed, we're distracted, we feel like we have too much, and we do. There's an abundance. My point I'm trying to make is that abundance is not going to get you the results. You have to be selective, you have to choose and do what is the most important thing that's going to help your client or help you get that client. And that was the thing I was struggling with before, is I was like, kind of just like throwing stuff at the wall and expecting it to work. And I needed someone that had a level of expertise that knew what worked. And I had to, for one, going back to what I said, be able to listen. And they listened to me. And from there, they gave me something to do that was going to get me X, Y, Z, or, the X, Y, Z got me, that result. if that makes sense. So essentially, I had to listen and I had to act and prioritize on what was the most important thing that was going to give me that result, if that makes sense.
It does.
And from there, the next thing was, if I can elaborate a little bit deeper on this too, was what we said back to earlier is commitment. Is be committed and be consistent with that commitment. So kind of a dual way of it, they're intertwined, is be committed but also be consistent. Because everyone can be persistent, but you have to continually, no one just, gets a result and then they're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to just kick back and that's it. Like we have this the rest of life. No, it doesn't work that way. Like you have to continually put yourself out there. You have to continually do the things, to maintain those things and sustain those things. And, we'll get into, I want to talk about sustainability today too. But yeah, I mean, that was the thing, man, is like, it was definitely listening, being willing to listen to the coach and them listen to me, and I listen to my clients and act in a way that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Act in a purposeful way, really. Act with purpose. Act with, a way that is like congruent with your goals. And then lastly is commit and be consistent.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that insight.
Yeah, man.
That's so powerful.
Absolutely.
On so many levels. And I want to go back to something real quick. So there's a little nugget in each of those three things that we're dancing around. The first one is that if you hadn't listened to yourself, you never would have been able to come to a place where you could hire him. Definitely. And then learn how to listen to others, right?
Definitely.
So if you listen to yourself, change that entire spectrum for you, right?
Exactly, man. Like you have to be willing to listen and take that, that leap of faith, essentially, is really what it is. Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting, a different result, I mean, obviously the cliche saying is it's insanity, but it's the truth is like, you have to be willing to put yourself out there, listen, and try new things and be curious, stemming back to what we said earlier.
And the second thing I wanted to point out was that you said you have to act with purpose.
Yeah.
In line with your goals.
Mm-hmm.
Which is assuming you have them.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a huge thing that we see, which is that people don't have goals. And then they wonder why they're not moving anywhere.
Yeah, man. It's kind of like, this is a weird analogy. Think of like an actor that's on set, like an A-list actor that's in one of your favorite movies. And their inflections don't match their body language. They're not acting with purpose.
For desired outcome.
For desired outcome.
They're not to be enjoyable for the business to group, for whatever it is. Right?
Yeah, they're not in that character's role, and they're not moving and acting as if like they're that character. And going back to what I'm saying is like, if you're not acting with a purpose, like you're just kind of like doing shit for, you're going at it just to do stuff, then no wonder why you're not at your goal. No wonder why. So you have to be selective and be super aware of every single thing that you're doing in the moment when it comes to business.
We're going to let that one sink in.
Yeah.
Because that's good.
Super
aware in the moment when it comes to your business.
There's a million things you could be doing, right?
But only some of them are going to move the ball forward, and the other ones are just not as important. And when we let go of the perfectionist, or we let go of these different archetypes that we take on, all of a sudden now we can make better decisions overall and take real action forward to carve out what we want to create, which leads me to my next thing. I mean, obviously you've now coached hundreds of them to a much, much more, we'll call it sustainable lifestyle, because I think that everything that you practice with your methodology around fitness, having done so much extremity, right? You've now found and cultivated this method that you've created. So tell us a little bit about that, right? Because I think the next stage was you hired the coach, and now things are starting to move in the right direction. You're incorporating and developing your own ideology around how you want to coach yourself, meaning how you want to treat your body, how you want to live and operate in that frequency and vibration.
Yeah, exactly, man. So like it was, like we talked about the orthorexia and that transitional shift, I found that, the only way to really live through fitness is making it sustainable, and the only way to really, let me rephrase that, the only way to, in my point of view, in my experience, what worked for me is if I want to have this body the rest of my life, if I want to look good and feel good and not feel, have to feel perfect, because what is perfect?
Right.
Is I have to do something that's sustainable. I have to do something that I enjoy, and because if you don't enjoy it, it's not sustainable. So you have to discover and ask yourself, what do you really want and what do you really like to do? And I found what I like to do. I tried different things, like powerlifting came about, enjoyed that, but also I had some injuries minor injuries that came about it, and kind of lost a little bit of desire for it. So I stepped off and did more of a power building. I do right now more of a power building concept of training.
And what is that for those who don't know?
Power building is basically a hybrid of powerlifting with bodybuilding. So you're still lifting heavy for a fraction of, so you're doing maybe, let's say 80% of your workout or 20% of your workout is like a 5x5, 80 to 85% of your 1 rep max bench press. And then the other 80% of the workout could be 4 or 5 accessory, lifts. If you don't know what an accessory lift is, essentially doing something like a dumbbell row, pull-ups, shoulder press, things in that nature.
Versus
like doing bench squat deadlift, like a core workout.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I found that having the bodybuilding aspect of 80% of the workout still allows you to build that nice, Hollywood, model, whatever, physique that a lot of guys strive for, not a majority strive for. That's who I try to help, versus bodybuilding. And you still have that level of strength where you go to the gym, you're strong, you're getting stronger. And because getting stronger does, in my opinion, have a level where it helps you build muscle. Getting stronger helps you build muscle, and you want to be stronger in the sense when you're strong, it carries over to everything in life. I mean, you can do things in life that you need strength for, and not just physically, but mentally. Having that strength, it proves a lot of things in your life that you can take on things, you can handle different things. Having that strength externally, internally, it also correlates to that. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of gotten lost on the question.
So I guess the next thing I wanted to ask you was, do you feel like everything you just said, because we were moving in towards where's the business moving now? You have all these people, what is sustainable to you? Do you feel like you training consistently and living this lifestyle has helped you stay more grounded?
Yeah, definitely. So that making this shift, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, is when I evolved and adopted this sustainable lifestyle method, this more sustainable lifestyle, flexible, I won't say flexible eating, but lifestyle eating is what I like to call it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, lifestyle eating and minimalist training. That's
good. I love that. That's catchy. Lifestyle, I love it.
Lifestyle eating and minimalist training. That's what really, I mean, it just it was me. I was like, this is what I've been looking for the whole time, where it allows me to live a life outside of, not that anything's wrong with fitness, but have a life outside of the gym, be able to go out with my friends, not, sabotage my relationships, not alienate myself from my friends, be able to have a good relationship, go out with my girlfriend. We've gone out 3 times this week already to dinner.
Perfect.
And go out to dinner too.
Right. Yeah, dude. Right.
We went out to lunch.
We ate up.
Dude, we wouldn't have had that lunch if I was back in my body. We would have gone to the gym.
Fried chicken and donuts.
Yeah, fried chicken and donuts.
Lifestyle eating.
You can still have abs. That's what's amazing. If that's your goal, or if you could still, be healthy. That's the important thing. Not just physically, I try to impress upon people that I work with, but it's also mentally how you perceive food, how you look at things in life. Because life is a balance, and balance for some people doesn't exist, that word. But in my perspective, what I define balance as is it's living life knowing that it's okay not to be perfect, and it's understanding that it's okay to self-indulge because we're all human.
Right.
At the end of the day,
it's that seesaw. If you ever binge, you should come back.
Yeah.
And I think that is what the experience and wisdom and knowledge of that you possess puts you in a position to feel like you always have that sense of control when you feel like you're out of control.
Dude, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about how you make that sustainable, because I know that's a big thing for you. I know you implement this with your clients too, I'm assuming, right?
So one post that, in talking about specific posts, if you guys ever want to see this on Instagram, is, I don't know if you've ever seen this, is one post that I share every few months, because it speaks so deeply with people.
Right.
This post is crazy. Is I tend to post it around the holidays as a reminder, because that's when people tend to like really, I guess we'll say, fall off the wagon, quote unquote. I think it's a terrible word expression, but anyway, I don't know what wagon we were ever riding, to be honest. But they fall off the wagon and they get down on themselves. It tends to be around the holidays or any, especially the holiday season, but any type of holiday around, the summertime. Generally, when people feel like they overindulge, they over self-indulge. And I make this post where it's me 3 days before, like, in my opinion, looking super lean, feeling good, and then 3 days after indulging, because I like to have fun on the holidays, and I'm super bloated, crazy, like abs are gone, look like I like literally reversed all my hard work over the years. And I make this point that it's okay to self-indulge. It's okay to let yourself go. You're entirely human, and this is just temporary.
Right.
It's not permanent. What you did there is reversible. It's really easy to reverse. It's going to take a level of commitment, and it's going to take consistency, but I guess we'll say persistent. But it's not permanent. It's not permanent.
Ooh.
And a lot of people think like it's permanent when you go out and have a donut, like you're going to
never get it off. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something you have to let go of. Letting go is one of the biggest things, one of the best things that you can ever do in your life, anything, is being detached from anything physical and any type of outcome.
So here's the question.
Yeah.
Because you work with men who obviously have poor relationships with food, I'm assuming at
Yeah.
times. How do you go about bringing them into a new level of awareness to understand that it's okay for them to eat a little bit and that that's all right, that they can still hit their goals within the constraints of the program and create a sustainable lifestyle for themselves?
It's a good question. I'll obviously have to talk with them, but it's kind of like what we're saying is I share with them like my, past. And generally they know like my story too, but it's just reassuring that it's okay. And I tell them straight up, like, dude, stop, go out and have something tonight. Like, go out and have that meal. Like, it's Friday, stop eating salad, go out and have a fucking donut or have a pizza. But if it's someone that, listen, if it's someone that, it depends on what level they are.
Sure.
If it's someone that just started with weight loss and they're like their progress is a little bit slow, then there is a point in time, and if I have them for whatever reason, if they have some type of like condition, then I will probably have them on like something like ketogenic or like keto diet, or I'll have them on something that's low carb just for some time to build some momentum. And then when they get to a place of like generally where they can get away with having something like that a little more, I reassure them like, dude, it's okay. Like, it's okay to have that type of stuff. Like, you're not going to go back to where you were just by having one bad meal. Now, yeah, you don't want to get in the habit of having it, every single day and exceeding a certain, caloric range that's going to throw you out of whack.
So by listening to them, empathizing with them,
Yeah.
and then reassuring them,
Yeah.
you're able to help them overcome themselves and their own insecurities or limiting beliefs around food.
Yeah, dude. And that's, I'm glad you just said the word empathize. That's actually one of the core values I have. Is like the biggest thing that, and I want to talk about that.
Please,
that
yeah,
today.
I'd love to hear it.
Empathy is such a lack. I was having this conversation the other day with people. Empathy is such a lacking like characteristic that a lot of people, and I'm not trying to like talk myself up, but a lot of people don't have. And especially as a coach, you have to be able to empathize with your clients, and not even with your clients, but potential people, or even just people that, just you're talking to. Is empathy obviously is understanding where that person's at, the level that they're at, and aligning with them. And, people just want to be heard. People want to be heard. And the only way you can, from my perspective, is to help somebody is if you can level with them and understand with them and say, hey, you know what? I understand with you. Like, well, and why don't we look at it this way? Like, type of thing. So I think empathy is such a lacking thing, especially nowadays with, how everything's digital. There's such a lack of communication like we're doing right now, in person, via phone. It's all done through here.
Right.
And you can't express empathy as easily through text message and words. It's more expressed obviously through emotion and, inflection. So empathizing with your clients is so important. And that is one key thing that I've found that really helps them understand it's okay, to have that burger or have that fries or have that, donut, because I was once you too, I was once in your shoes, and I know what it's like to feel like you want to be perfect, but you gotta let go. You have to understand that it's okay to let go. It's okay to make this, to have that burger and make those changes, make those choices, because everything is a choice, man. So
100%.
Yeah.
Just like choice for us to hydrate in the middle of this conversation because it's heating up.
Yeah.
Right.
Just a good choice. I just drank my water because you drank your water.
So with empathy, how did you cultivate that as one of your values? What led you to believe that, hey, this is great as this company, right? And for those of you who don't know, tell the name of your company, please.
A Gravett.
Right.
Gravett.
So as Gravett, as an entity, right, a company, where did that come in? How did you cultivate it? And when did you decide, hey, this is something we stand for? And how do you instill that within your clients? I mean, I guess obviously that comes into play when you are coaching them through it and deploying it yourself, but elaborate if you don't mind.
No, great question. You're gonna think this is fucking cool. So
Cool.
He's ready. So basically I had core values before that I, came across like when I started like my business, but that was 5 years ago, and obviously everyone evolves. And I felt like I've evolved and I've adopted things that they were always there, but they weren't, at the time I wasn't living up to those things that I truly was. I was trying to be someone else. I wasn't being authentic. So what was awesome was you and I met like 2 months ago or a month ago.
In person for the first time.
In person for the first time. And we were met online obviously a while ago, but in person for the first time. And we had a conversation about vision, mission, and core values.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, man, that was like one of the most like amazing, that's a really shitty word to use, but one of the most amazing conversations that I've ever had. But it was so eye-opening. I was like, man, like Graham's on a level that, I was like, I want to like reevaluate some things. Like this conversation brought a lot of awareness. So I was like, I'm going to explore and really dive deep into this business and discover like, what is it that's lacking? So, because my vision I had set for 5 years ago was in 2020 to help 1 million people, gravitate 1 million people towards a healthier lifestyle.
I love that.
But at the time, it sounded great, but I think for now that was too vague. It was too vague because there's a million, there's a lot of businesses out there that want to help 1 million people, but how do you exactly want to help 1 million people? So I instilled my core values, I revisited that, and I came up with this acronym called SEALs.
Let's go. I'm fired up now.
Yeah,
you're gonna get situated.
You're gonna like this. So I came up with this acronym called SEALs, and it's not SEALs like Navy SEALs, but it's spelled actually CEILS. So it's SEALs, like kind of like sealing, but obviously without the name.
Love it.
So 5 things, and the first one's obviously courage. So being courage, having courage. Second one's empathy, then integrity, and leadership and service. So I believe that for the longest time, actually, the only ones that were a part of Gravett at the time were CIL, but E, empathy, and S, service, were missing. So when I came across having a conversation, I was like, you know what, these have been there the whole time, but I wasn't getting deep enough with the client as I could be. So it was, empathy was I guess adopted again. I guess that's the word. Uncovered. That's beautifully said. Brought to the surface. Yeah. And so was service. I mean, service was always there, but
now you're conscious of it.
Now conscious of it. So
which makes all the difference.
Yeah, and a SEAL It's essentially, you know, in my perspective, a SEAL for Graffit is someone who's, you know, has courage, they empathize with people, they have integrity, they're a leader, and they're there to serve.
Dude, that is so awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm so happy.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
So cool.
So you helped me kind of like come up with that, you know, that new acronym essentially. And I revisited the vision, and the vision was essentially, you know, rather than to gravitate and empower 1 million people towards a healthy lifestyle, gravitate and empower 1 million people towards a sustainable, healthy lifestyle, and help them be able to, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. Gravitate and empower 1 million people towards a healthier lifestyle and teach them how to sustain it after they achieve that healthy lifestyle. Because going back to what we said earlier today, sustainability was the part that was missing. Because many people get in shape, but not everyone can remain in shape. Right? And to be specific, is the people that we're referring to is busy people. If you want to put that label on,
Which in our
is everyone.
society, everyone's striving to be more busy.
Yeah.
So they don't have to be.
Yeah, busy professionals essentially.
Dude, unbelievable. Like,
Yeah.
Just blown away. Love the acronym. Love that everyone gets that seal, no pun intended, of approval.
Yeah.
Right? By them,
Yeah.
by them giving it to themselves, which I just think is so powerful. But most importantly, I think this is just a testament to you. What did you say you learned from AJ? Action.
Yeah.
As soon as you,
Action.
you didn't even told me. I haven't even talked to him since.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
hearing this, right?
Yeah.
Right? And of course, this is the beauty of it. Action over the sustainability of yourself to that day order the fried chicken and donut meal. Where you feel bad in yourself. So it's just so much alignment, so much integrity, so much honesty within yourself. And I think this is a really great point I want to make. It's, you know, we uncovered it. And I made a video about this recently because I just think it's a perfect way to describe personal development. You are the archaeologist of yourself. So every day when you do personal development, when you have really powerful conversations, when you read, expand your mind, when you shift your energy in your body, when you align yourself to your true self, right, your honest, most high self, you are in the process of you're being the archaeologist.
Yeah,
you're uncovering more of who you are.
Absolutely.
And every little brushstroke unveils a new component to yourself that you are unaware of, but have in your ability to command at any time. And it's once you bring it into awareness that you can speak on it and help other people become aware of it within them.
Definitely, dude. It's little nuances over time that added into like that compounded something bigger, you know, and by that unfolding, you know, you're able to help other people realize what you said and uncover and help them compound and unfold stuff and bring it about into their awareness and their reality.
Yeah. Changing the world by first changing ourselves.
Yeah.
It
all starts with the self. Yeah.
Love it. Dude, so impactful. So you made all these changes. You're working to help busy professionals. So what are the most, this is so awesome. I love this conversation going, by the way. I love this. So here's the question. What are the 2 or 3 biggest things you're noticing with busy people, and how are you helping them shift it to a sustainable lifestyle?
Yeah, man. This is something that's really new because I've adopted the busy professional market in the last, let's say, 8 months or so is when I started to work with them. And what I'm finding as a trend is that they have very little time to meal prep.
Okay.
And they have very little time to, as a busy professional, they're on the road traveling. So it does make it a little bit difficult for them to sustain healthy eating and make good choices. So what I've helped them do is, invest in meal prep services, have something that's healthy, that tastes good, that they don't feel like and it still has flexibility, but they've made that choice. And if they don't decide to make that choice, one thing that's helped is I've helped them really learn that, they send me a picture of what they're eating at a restaurant, and I help them make a good choice. Essentially, they send me a picture of the menu, and I help them make a good choice, but something that it's not like a salad.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like they're eating just like a Caesar salad. They're actually eating a legit meal that they feel good about. And understanding everything's done in moderation. You don't need to be in the gym 7 days a week in order to see, results. You could be in there 3 days a week, as long the minimalist lifestyle, minimalist training.
I love it too.
As long as you are working hard and you're moving with purpose, falling back to what we said earlier, you're acting with purpose, and you're being committed and you're listening to your coach, I mean, you're gonna see results
that don't cost you everything you think it costs to get where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everyone's like, oh, I have to sacrifice everything.
Yeah,
to do this.
yeah.
It's like, no.
No, there's
Right?
absolutely not.
That's where the minimalist approach comes in. Which, by the
Yeah.
way, if that's not your branding now, needs to be it.
I do.
Because that's so freaking
See,
in right now. Like minimalist training, like sign me up.
We're
So
having,
I don't have to do that much, and I can
Yeah.
still see results.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
See, this is where this conversation, because I've talked about it before, but never really, and that's why I love
Boom.
conversing.
Get out here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my approach. Is like I used to, going back to kind of what we said earlier, train when I did bodybuilding 7 days a week, 6-7 days a week, and now it's between like 3 to 4 heavy sessions, and then I'll go in and I'll still do cardio, but I don't really count it as a workout. Like I'll go in and do like high intensity for like 5 or 10 minutes, or I'll move my body. And that's just to get me in a state throughout the day. It's part of my routine. It's like today I did HIIT, and that was for me literally to be on my point on this, speaking to you,
Right.
so that I could, be at my highest self. Because I find that moving, if you change your body, you change your psychology.
Hell yeah.
Right? You change your physiology, you change your psychology.
Right. Change your energy.
Change your energy. You're on that highest vibration.
That's why I find that even just simple moving, like stretching, if you adopt yoga, whatever you like to do, move every day. Move every day. It doesn't have to be vigorous, but 3 to 4 vigorous, even if you can't do 4, 2 to 3 vigorous workouts a week. We're talking intense, but getting it done, in an hour or less it's enough. It's enough as long as you're moving your body throughout the week, and you're having that balance. You're being strategic with your food, essentially.
So I love everything you just said. I think that you're really on to something as far as finding the balance and delivering a really high quality service to your clients by helping them become more educated on what they can do to put themselves in better positions consistently
Yeah.
to see those results. What types of education for like the average Joe out there who doesn't really know much about this and has never really considered a coach before, because that's a lot of people, and that's understandable, by the way. I think it's just so important to point out, when have you ever had a personal coach, someone dedicated to you and you only?
Yeah.
When we grow up with school systems, you have a coach, the teacher, but there's
Absolutely.
30 kids.
Yeah.
You have a football coach, there's 100 kids. So you
Yeah.
don't get one-on-one attention.
Yeah.
Right? So the idea of having someone there for you is like kind of foreign and weird at first. But the reality of the situation is that if you look at anyone who's been extremely successful, they'll tell you their most brilliant days were days they had one-on-one attention.
Yeah.
Because that's what helps you to become more aware in the moment, because that person's literally focused on helping you become more aware.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my question is, for those people out there who haven't invested in coaches before, who want to learn some sustainable stuff with lifestyle eating and minimalist training, what are some educational tools that they can implement into their lives to learn if they aren't willing to invest in themselves?
All right. So they're not willing to invest in a coach, you're saying?
Yeah, like
Okay.
what are some basics out there that you're seeing that people can like get started, get their feet wet in?
Okay.
That's a better way to ask it.
Okay, gotcha. And yeah, I mean, like, really, what I'll give away everything I do. You can do it or not. It's up to you. Is simply one way about going about being sustainable. We'll start with the nutrition. Is download. There's many apps out there. You don't need to worry about which one's the best, but find one. In my opinion, I like MyFitnessPal. I track my food every day. But that doesn't mean that, I won't have, like I said earlier, something that I enjoy, lifestyle eating, essentially. So it keeps me accountable, keeps me knowing that, if we're looking at science, that obviously I have to be eating a certain amount if I want to lose weight, and if I want to, gain muscle, I have to be eating a certain amount. So I would say, for one, download the app. It's absolutely free. Doesn't cost you anything.
So it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. The second thing is, obviously eating. Oh, well, I'll expand upon that. Eat about 80% of the time clean, and then the other 20% can be, like a donut, pizza, whatever you enjoy, whatever your favorite food is. In moderation. It's that simple. And
Here's a question real quick. I'm curious. What's your definition of clean eating versus dirty?
Clean eating is healthy, nutritious food that is whole food.
Okay,
Essentially.
whole foods.
Whole food, yeah, whole
So
food. So we're talking.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, we're not talking like stuff that comes from a bag or a box, like cereal or bread. Isn't really whole food. What we're talking about is green vegetables. We're talking about potatoes. We're talking, for example, we're talking about lean proteins like chicken breast, salmon, turkey, fats from olive oil, avocados, things that essentially are not man-made is what we're talking about.
Right. Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So whole foods, whole, healthy, nutritious foods that are filled with micronutrients, macronutrients, because you need those things to operate as well at a high level. Second thing is I don't like the word cheat meal, but however you want to define, put a label on it. I personally say flexible food is having like a donut for me, or having fried chicken, or having
Mac and cheese.
mac and cheese, or
That
having
pasta there was good.
Yeah, it was. So just having like in moderation, like fitting that in, and it could be, if you want to do it every day, you can just like make sure you don't go over that 20%. Just because you do want to have a good balance. You do want to have a good balance. But second thing is if we focus on fitness, is like I told you earlier, through 2-3 times a week, we're talking, if you don't even have a gym, start off with high intensity training at home and do body weight stuff, but like keep your rest short and move quickly. Keep your, like 30 seconds of like burpees, 30 seconds of rest for like 20 minutes doing that. It's going to be tough, but that's what's required 2-3 times a week. And then the other days that if you want to do light exercise, just walk 10,000 steps a day, or go for a hike, go for a walk, go for, do something like that. It's going to get your body moving every day. Keep your body just like doing something,
Gotcha.
moving around, whether it be yoga, anything you enjoy. That's the other important thing too, is do something that you enjoy. Because if you don't enjoy it, it's not going to be sustainable.
Agreed.
Do something you really like. Like you love going for hikes.
Love it.
And you got to do stuff that, because if you are someone who hates the gym, like you just despise gym for whatever reason, then chances are it's going to be very difficult to make that part of your life. Not saying it's impossible. What I'm saying is it may be difficult to make that into your life at any point, and you're at a higher likelihood of not committing to it. So I do want you to say is look at it like from a place of be open-minded, be willing to try it, but also find something that if you don't like it, find something as a fallback that you do like. Because there's something everyone likes that requires some level of movement in this world. Whether it be tennis, or something that can keep them moving. But my suggestion is a lot of people that don't like going to the gym, do something at home. If we could be more specific, is do something at home. Do something that's going to actually physically push your body to its limits. And you can do body weight stuff at home that will do that. And lastly, I would say, man, is like drink water. I mean, water is like, I heard this the other day. I forget how this guy phrased it, but essentially what he was trying to get at is if you don't drink enough water, there's like an emotional blockage.
Yeah.
Where water is like, I think he said the word the conduit, I think he said, is it like, it is what, water is what, it's almost like a signal of like helping electrical impulses in your body, work. If we're looking from a physiological standpoint, and if there isn't a sufficient amount, if you have like the subtlest bit, like 1% dehydration, you could actually have like impairment in thinking, like you can, and that can lead to bad choices, is what I'm trying to get at. So water, not only is it going to help you make good choices by being hydrated, you're going to feel better, and you're going to be more likely to obviously work out and eat healthy and do all the things that we talked about, and you're going to live longer and you're going to lose weight or whatever your goal be. So being hydrated and getting rest too, obviously you want to rest, is important. But let's did we say 3 things?
Yeah.
Because I want to add one more thing, is spend time with family. Spend time with family and go out with friends and like enjoy yourself, because time here is short, and you need to have that balance in order to, like anything in life, you don't want to be an extremist like I once was. You know, you want to have that ability to really enjoy the work that you put in and enjoy all the hard work that you invest in the, you know, in the gym, whether it be 2-3 days a week. You want to go out and I guess appreciate those results. But yeah, to sum it up, first one, download MyFitnessPal, track food. Second one, just get moving every single day. Do something at home or in the gym 2-3 days a week, that minimalist style of training. And then lastly is drink your water and rest.
Which we didn't get into. If we have time, we'll talk about
Yeah,
this.
man.
One thing I wanted to rewind just for a second, because I think there's some really good stuff there. So they can download MyFitnessPal if you want to know more about nutrition or track your stuff. And we lied. There is a cost. You have to actually invest your time.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is real. So like that's a thing. You have to actually stop and track your food.
Yeah.
Because it's going to increase your awareness.
Yeah.
And your awareness is going to lead you to be able to make the better decision next time.
Yeah.
So we need to be honest, right?
Definitely.
The second thing is, so if they want to do workouts at home, twofold question. One, where can they find this stuff? If, number two, they don't follow you already, where I know you post workouts all the time.
Yeah.
Elaborate a little on that, because I think that's one of the coolest things that you do.
Yeah.
Is you post your workouts on Instagram with swipe feature, so you can actually do the same exact workouts you're doing to see your results.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I share every workout I do on Instagram, and you kind of just inspire me there. I need to start posting more in-home stuff.
Dude, yeah, big time.
Yeah, because it's a lot of it's in the gym, and I only go to obviously the gym 3-4 days a week, so I can only post. You know, generally I only share like 2 times of the week of my gym workouts. So, what I guess to find me, you know, go to Instagram, Gravett_FITT.
Which will be in the bios.
Yeah.
So check it out.
I post a workout every day, and that's just for if you want to follow what I do. It's simply there, not every day, but it's like every other day. It's like a couple times a week, and from in home to my YouTube, or from my Instagram to my YouTube, like there is so much free information out there. But the important thing to remember about all this stuff is like you have to do it. You have to do it, and you have to understand that it does require that level of commitment. You have to be committed. That's it.
You got to be committed to all those things, but all those things aren't even that many things, just a couple, right? So lifestyle eating, minimalist training, and then sounds like to your goal, which I think leads us to another really cool topic. I know we only have a little bit more time, but
I don't think we're good.
How much time do you think?
We probably got like 30 minutes.
Oh wow, okay, cool. So then,
Yeah.
So being committed, right? That brings us to the point of, as far as goals are concerned, how do you go about setting realistic and practical goals that are in alignment with what your clients really want versus what they might come in telling you they want?
So rephrase that one more time.
Right. So everything you just said, we talked about, you have to have a level of commitment.
Yeah.
When it comes to helping your clients rise up to that level of commitment, they obviously need to have a goal they're working towards.
Yeah.
How do you help them set their goals? That's better.
Yeah, it's kind of like reverse engineering. So the big thing I try to tell them, and this is the mistake I made from the beginning, is I looked at the big picture too far off. I looked at the big picture of things, and when you look at the big picture of things, you forget that there was a level of actions that are, if you look at the big picture of things, there's a level of actions that are required to get to the big picture of things, and a level of commitments and a level of consistency. A lot of people forget when they see someone that's successful in fitness that person didn't do it overnight. And there was a lot of sweat equity. There was a lot of, choices that were made in the kitchen as well. So I remind them that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And you have to also remember that it's a consistent marathon, right? You're always going to be running that marathon, and you have to fall in love with the process. So I told them to reverse engineer, and hey, this is your goal, that's great, but we're not going to focus on that goal. We're going to focus on your daily goal. Instead of what's your 3-month goal. Okay, what's your month goal? What's your week goal? Okay, we'll say John, what is John going to do today that's going to get him to his weekly goal? And what's his weekly goal going to lead to his monthly goal? What's his monthly goal going to lead to his, 3-month goal? His so on, his, life goal. And it all starts with really that day, because the only way we can change anything is now. The only way we can change our future, reshape our future, is in this present moment, because that's all we have. All we have is right now. It doesn't matter what happened in the past, because you can't change the past. And obviously, the future is there, but at the same time, if you want a better future, you have to have a better now. You have to do something different right now that's going to lead to a different level of results in the future. So I tell them is like, if you're, unhappy with how your progress is going, ask them, like, what's been going on? Like, what have you been doing? And a lot of times, like, there's a good amount of time, and this isn't every client, but if there's some that are, falling behind, because life happens,
right,
they'll be honest, and we'll uncover some things that they have been doing. So then they get super clear, and they're like, you know what? That's why. That's why. And the only way I can change is doing it right now. So I tell them, if you want to set a long-term goal, that's awesome, because you need to. Well, you don't need to, but I highly encourage you to, because we're working towards something. But in order to get to there, we have to do something right now, right? Because all we have is right now.
So to help them, so you basically choose they come to you with like, hey, this is the vision I want of what I want. Then you help them reverse engineer all the way back to these are the little micro goals we implement. Okay.
It's reverse engineering. It's fun. It's because, all we have, man, is like, it's just small. The best way, this is the best way I described this to a kid in the gym the other day. He's like, hey, dude, you have an awesome physique. He's like, how'd you get there? Like, it's 10 years, man. And he's like, wow, it took that long. I'm like, yeah, man, doesn't happen overnight. It's like, it may happen sooner for some people, but, maybe it took 10, 11 years to get to where you see me right now on, February, whatever it was, 2020. It's like, wow. It's like, man, that's awesome. I'm like, yeah. I was like, think of it like this, man. I was like, basically, it's kind of like a bank account where if you want to be wealthy, there's no get rich over quick, or get rich quick type of thing, and to require long-term wealth. I mean, you'll get rich, but generally you'll probably lose it.
Right.
Kind of like how steroids are with fitness. Like, people that pursue that mindset, like, want it now, they want it right then, the instant gratification, but they generally don't have the intentions to keep it consistent after.
Right.
So understanding that this is like a bank account, you're putting daily deposits every single day to cultivate and grow and compound into something great.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with fitness and setting goals. Is you're putting in daily commitments, daily deposits that are compounding into something great, your ultimate goal. And they never look at it that way. They're always too busy in their head. They're always too worried about the outcome and why they're not there. And that's the problem, is like, a lot of times they're too focused on something they don't want, and they're just attracting more of that into their life. They're too focused on, why don't I have this? Why don't I have this? When they're asking the wrong question of, how can I do something different today that's going to get me to that result?
Right, which is obviously where you come in.
Yeah.
To help guide them and help them kind of excavate more of themselves to see what's really important to them, and then how they can implement all the tools that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
To get to the real desired result, right?
Yeah, I mean, that I kind of wish I shared that earlier with HA's thing, because that was, if I could add to that point earlier you brought up about the coach, I would say I was too focused on the why and not the how. And it's great to have the why, but how you're going to get there is also important.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, if you don't know how, then yeah.
That was a big thing I would say I learned. If we could replace, add in one thing earlier, not to backtrack, but yeah, that's why we're talking now, uncovering this thing.
Right. If you know where you want to go and why you want to do it, but you don't know how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
Then you're just standing around like, I got this great thing I'm going to do. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do it.
And you'll figure it out if you'll figure it out. That's the thing, is you may not know how right now. That's 100% okay. But having someone to reach, like a coach, will show
how to get there a lot faster, which is nice.
Right, and I think that's also like the precursor to understanding of why everyone always talks about the journey. It's because on so much of that, you don't necessarily know what is going to happen next. You just know that eventually you're going to get to this desired outcome, right? And that each day offers a new challenge, offers a new opportunity for you to uncover something new about yourself, the world, learning more. And I think that the fitness journey in itself is a marvelous thing. And you just had me reflecting there for a second, talking about 10 years. I mean, it really is crazy how much sometimes I notice I take myself for granted with my fitness level, because it's just so second nature at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think about it. It's just like, it just is the thing I do, right?
And that's what happens, man. That's awesome to hear that. It's become so instilled in you. It's so part of your life.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know what to do, right? Because it's such an amazing way to ground yourself, right? And I think that in my darkest times in my life, I think that fitness was always, and I should just say training was always something I could do, that I could fall back on, that I knew that I was good at, that would give me a result immediately. Because if you train really hard, you feel it.
Yeah.
You don't not feel it when you train hard, good or bad, or if you train incorrectly or correctly, you're still gonna feel something.
Yeah.
Right? Not saying like go train incorrectly. I'm just saying like it's something where if you want a result, you can get one. Now the long-term vision obviously is another task in itself. But I think that everything you said, we're using those tools to help your clients and helping them cultivate their vision, and then connecting those two things with the how. I think that is what's making you and separating you and differentiating you from the marketplace and of coaching these days, because it is becoming very much a commodity. There's a coach on every single corner.
It's a commodity for me. Yeah.
Everything is now with the internet, which is fine because what it does is it allows people to, I think that it gives them an amazing opportunity to learn what they do or don't want to do. If they really want to do this as a career, they just think it's something that is cool until they realize what it really is.
Yeah.
And I think that for you, it helps you to differentiate yourself from the market, because you're doing you're offering a unique service by going above and beyond what people think of as a meal plan. Or by branding it your way and doing the things you do your way. And that leads me to my next thing, which is, so you're in this place right now where you work with busy professionals and helping them, serving them. Where do you see Gravett going from here?
Yeah, man. So this is the interesting thing. I had this epiphany the other day, not too long ago. I'd say it was only like in the last few weeks, and I was like, I recently came across the company, like the meal prep service,
right,
the Snap Meals, and it was from my business partner who showed me them, and I was like, these are awesome. Like, I love these. Like, this has actually been like a game changer for myself. Not just, and that's why I told, we were just talking to my clients, like I started inviting them to try this as well. And I was like, this is a great company. I was like, but they're missing something, I think. And maybe they've been onto it, maybe they haven't. And I was like, they're missing an important element that could impact way more people's lives. And that's that they're missing the coach. They're missing essentially the ability to have someone to guide them and help them make the decisions, because what they're left with is just meals, and they don't know how to still eat correctly.
Right.
And they don't know how.
They're missing the education and the accountability.
Accountability, and everyone needs accountability. I don't care who you are in this world. It doesn't matter who you are. Shit, I mean, The Rock even says, like, and he's one hardworking guy. He has a coach. He has coaches. Like, if you don't have a coach, and at any point in your life, you're lying, because everyone's had a coach at any point in their life. They've had accountability. And your parents hold you accountable. So, what I've really thought about, and I haven't shared this publicly, is one thing I've really thought about in the next 5 years to a decade, as everything is making that transitional shift to e-commerce and going online, is everything's an access economy. People want stuff now, and they don't want ownership to it. They don't want to be like, they don't want to own things. People want to live more of that minimalist lifestyle, and that's kind of that's what I embody, is being a minimalist. And I was just telling you how we're in the midst of moving to Southern Florida right now, and
palm trees would be nice.
Palm trees, you got the little palm, right, the fake palm there, but yeah, we're trying to get out of here, and we are getting out here, and we're going to minimalize
all the shit that we have in our place, because there's just too much right now and it's overwhelming. But that same concept applies not just like my training, but also what I'm trying to help people with is like in the next 5-10 years, like I haven't set a time frame, but I'm hoping by 2025 or 2030, probably earlier. What I want to do is I've thought about diving into really branding this into a larger brand, not just stepping into that individual coach role, but having a company that not only supplies the coaching aspect and accountability, but has the nutritional service that's sustainable that goes out to them, and having that coach and accountability and ability to make good choices, go out and still eat, but have those meals knowing they have it coming every single week.
Right.
And having an army essentially of like impacting 1 million busy professionals and teaching them really that they can sustain their results. They can sustain it by following a system that is, realistic to their lifestyle. Because it really all comes back to their lifestyle. And this is particularly busy professionals I'm speaking to, is like people that travel, people that are on the go, people that, again, the in-home stuff, having the ability to where I see Gravett is impacting 1 million busy professionals in the sense where they have their food, the coach, and the app of the workouts,
Right.
everything in one place. And all they have to do is just show up and commit.
Boom.
That's it.
Just an energy commitment, a financial commitment.
Yeah.
Which is, in theory, the same thing, right?
Yeah, and that's it's kind of the concept of where I've never seen anything like that. At least the since I've seen how nutrition is going this way, where it's becoming more e-commerce based. People don't want to go to the grocery store, they don't want to shop, but at the same time, a lot of these little doggy, a lot of these nutrition companies, they're still product based, they're not service based. They're not there to serve, and that's part of my values.
So serve you must.
Serve you must. Yeah, they're not. They're just there to, and not that they're transactional. Like they do embody like something deep, and they want to help people, but there's not that deep level of service you still get with a coach. It's just, hey, here's your meals. We're here to help you.
Right, and the level of understanding you have that's only half the puzzle.
Exactly.
Right? Like just because you have all the tools doesn't mean you know how to use them.
Exactly.
Right, which is where you come in, which is where the app comes in, which is where your coaches come in.
Exactly.
And that's where 1 + 2 or 1 + 1 = 2, right?
Exactly.
You can combine and create something better.
They just have one.
Right. Dude, I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's a great idea.
I appreciate it. It's it's going to take a lot of work, but you know what? It's something I feel like I'm passionate about, and I've already started to think about ways of going about it. It's definitely going to be a massive investment, and but with a massive investment, comes a massive vision, man.
Right. Dude.
And if you want to impact a million people and stand out from a crowded marketplace that's a commodity, like we said with coaching, you got to differentiate yourself, and that's the way I'm seeing how Gravett originally should have been from the get-go. Is you gravitate a million people towards a healthier lifestyle, but not just a million people, 1 million busy professionals, so that they can sustain those healthy results after they achieve that.
I love it, dude. That is a legendary vision for a legendary company. And dude, I think that we've covered like an insane amount of, we've covered an array of topics for sure.
Yeah.
Ranging and within that, right, integrated into your story, where you're at now, where you're heading. And so for the last question, the last thing I wanted to ask you before I give everyone your socials, where they can find you and how to like get in touch if they're interested in working with you, or more importantly, just like learn from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a question that I'm going to be continually asking people that are on this podcast is,
Yeah.
when you're on your deathbed, right, what is the one thing that you are going to look back on and be like, my life was worth it because?
Wow, that's a good question. I've heard something similar like this before, and it's funny, man. I've asked the same question to somebody before in a different context, where I said, if you were on your deathbed, I said, what's the one thing you would say to be like you made it?
Right.
And
I like the way you phrase that, where you said if you're on your deathbed, what's the one thing that you would say, that's it, basically, right?
Right.
So I'm gonna take a couple seconds because that's a good. And I
it's a
haven't really,
question. It's definitely a question.
yeah, and not to make it too long, but I would say
As long as it needs to be. I mean, like the vivid vision you have of like my life has been a pleasure.
I love that. But I guess the thing I would say is to do things that you truly wanted to, not because other people told you to. And going back to what we said today is like not trying to be someone you're not.
Right.
Be someone who you truly are meant to be. And that's going to require a deep level of making the unconscious conscious
Right.
and diving into you. So just to reiterate is, to be authentic and know that, there is only one of you and you were meant here to create. I mean, I don't really know how else to say it. It's that simple.
I think it is that simple for you.
Yeah.
Right? And that's amazing.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you said, and I think that's super cool that that's unique to you. And I'm sure that vision of what that will look like for you on your deathbed is going to change over time. Is a more vivid picture of what that looks like for you. But maybe it's just that simple too, right? And I think that's the beauty of a question that's so insanely profound and what's the word I'm looking for? Concrete in a way, right? Of like, what is my life? It's this thing, right? Very, very, very interesting question, right? But I think that what you said speaks to where you're at right now and where you're at and where you're going. And I think that based on every single thing that we talked about in this podcast thus far, dude, it's really amazing to be a part of your legendary journey and to see a legend that you are continue to grow over time, even just from the last month.
Yeah,
right. So like everything,
some growth.
Right. Everything you said about your vision, mission, your value, all the stuff you're integrating, and the way you see the vision of your company growing, it doesn't surprise me that you are expanding who you are in the process, right? Because you have to go, if you want to expand your business, you want to grow professionally, you got to first grow personally.
Absolutely.
So by you growing personally and expanding your vision of what you want to create and knowing your values, you've been able to integrate them into see what's missing in other companies and then create something that's perhaps even a little more complete in that version, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, amazing talking with you, dude. Have had a complete blast. For all of you who want to get in touch with Austen, they can find you at, just list all your socials real quick for them.
Yeah, I mean, the two main ones I would say are Instagram's number one, Gravett, but it's Grav, so GRAV_FITT. That's the Instagram, and we'll say Facebook too. Same thing, Gravett, just no underscore, and the last one we'll say YouTube, just search Gravett, you'll find me.
Hell yeah. So find him there. I'll put these in the bio so you can find them if it's too difficult to spell that out. Sometimes it is. We out here. And then, dude, be on the lookout for this guy. Please give him a follow. I mean, such a wealth of knowledge, such an amazing vision, such a legendary story, especially you battling through all that adversity at a younger age and then like turning it and transmuting that energy into something positive, and then overcoming that and refining the process to something that's lifestyle eating, minimalist training, gravitate towards your higher self. Like that's really empowering. Dude.
Thanks, man.
Right? And I just have had a pleasure. I've had a pleasure gravitating towards growth.
Hell yeah, brother. Thank you,
the last X amount of hours. So listen, for all of you listening to this right now, thank you very much for tuning in to this episode of the Legends Find a Way podcast. And Austin, if you have any final words you want to share with them, please do, dude.
Last thing I'll say is, expanding on to that last question you asked me is just live life with passion, man. Like live life to the fullest, every day. As cliche as it sounds, you may never know this could be your last day. And, be in the fucking moment, like be present and understand like the now is all you have. The now is all you have. And whatever you want to create or change or cultivate into your life, it starts with right now and working on you and uncovering, who maybe you think you are, or maybe you think you're trying to be someone else, and really just uncovering the real you.
you know, if that makes sense. So live in the now, be present, and amazing things will come.
Dude, unreal, man.
Yeah, man.
And now we say much love always.
Peace.
Peace.
Love it.